Hello, everybody, and welcome to True Name Podcast. It is super cold here right now in my neck of the woods. It's supposed to get down to 22 below zero tonight. So I was out today running errands and it was pretty chilly, but it kind of makes you feel tough when you're out there facing the high winds and everything like that. I didn't mind so much today because the roads there, it was really, really windy and sometimes it was whiteout conditions, but the roads were clear because it was just wind and we didn't have the snow. We got the snow already, so it kind of moved on to everybody else. I know a lot of the U.S. is supposed to be facing a ton of snow and bad weather coming up. Prayers for everybody so everybody stays warm and safe. But yeah, today it was really something, and it's so cozy in here tonight. As you can see, I got the little candle burning and we got the heat cranked tonight, and it's very cozy. In fact, I had to roll up my sleeves and everything, and I had to close the vent because I was too hot. So I even got myself a nice, really cold glass of water just so I can get through the podcast and not sweat to death. So anywho, what has been on my mind? Last week, I went to my chapel hour. As a Catholic, I have a Eucharistic adoration hour because we believe Jesus is truly present in the Eucharist, and you may or may not believe that. That doesn't mean that you can't listen to this podcast or learn something from this podcast. This is just where I simply had Jesus speak to me when I was in prayer. I had been asking the Lord just to give me some words of comfort because with all of the doings in my state and the world and our nation, I had been struggling with a really, really busy mind, and I think I was too wrapped up in the fear of what could happen, the things that are happening, and fear and anger, I would say. There was a lot of both. Well, so I had been praying. I asked the Lord to give me some words, and what I heard back, as clear as day and right away, don't let fear keep us apart. And if you're a Christian and you're familiar with the song Hosea, it reminded me of that. And all of a sudden I had this epiphany. So the lyrics of the song are, so come back to me with all your heart. Don't let fear keep us apart. Trees do bend, though straight and tall. So must we to others call. Long have I waited for your coming home to me and living deeply our new life. I used to sing that to my son when he was a little bitty baby. And I don't know why that song, but it's just the song that I would sing over him, not over him, but to him. But I sang it with sadness in my heart. I would stare at him and I felt like something might happen to him one day. And it was a very heavy, I didn't like it, but it was just something I would think, don't let fear keep us apart. That part stood out to me. And I didn't know what it meant or why that song would come into my head, but it's kind of a pretty melody, and I just kind of sang that at the time. But when he got to be 7 years old, he got diagnosed with cancer, and that's exactly how I felt when he was a baby. Really, really felt like the thing that would happen to him is he would get cancer. And there's times where I felt guilt because I'm like, did I just claim this over his life? But it was just this feeling, almost like, God was preparing me for it or something like that. But as I said, that song would always come into my head, and I would sing that, and I would think, why this song? So last week when I was praying and the words, don't let fear keep us apart, came into my head, the epiphany I had was back then when I was having those thoughts, it was as if God was preparing me, saying, don't let fear keep us apart. Because 7 years later, when my son got diagnosed with cancer, I was filled with so much fear, I could hardly function. My mom says at the time that she can't believe how well I did. And from the inside, I didn't feel like I was doing great at all. I was such a mess. And there were so many fears. And there was also the fear of him having to go through the chemo that he was going to need. And being a kind of a natural-minded family, I was not excited about having chemo go through his veins. At the same time, I knew that if I didn't do that, he wasn't going to survive. He had a very aggressive, bad cancer, bone cancer. It was a rare cancer that took a lot of harsh chemo. And I did not want to do that at all. I was so afraid. But I had to press forward, and I had to just lean on God and just say, I'll do what I can, even though it feels wrong, but it's the only thing I know. And you're just going to have to do the rest and protect him. So during that time, I completely leaned on God to get me through everything. I didn't think I was doing well, like I said, but I know there was a time where I just surrendered and felt like, I couldn't do anything else. There's this surrender prayer that I would say as well that a friend of mine gave me, and it was a beautiful prayer. It just asked the Lord to take care of everything. And so I would say that every single day. And during this prayer, I found there was a bit of peace coming over me. It was still very scary. And honestly, now even talking about it, it makes me tense up. I can feel it in my gut. It's not like I'm not dealing with the effects of that and how that felt. It didn't completely go away. All I know, though, is that through the fear, I leaned on God. And I really think it would have killed me had I not had God to help me get through it. And so that came to me when I was at chapel praying. Don't let fear keep us apart. It hit me too, like, what am I doing? I'm getting so wrapped up in all of this stuff. Everything in me was just fighting it and tensing up, and I was getting really depressed as well. But ever since then, those words keep going through my head, and then that song also keeps going through my head. Don't let fear keep us apart. Now every morning I've been just trying to start each day, going back to my prayer routine and, starting my day with him. Yesterday, during my chapel hour, I just spent the whole time praying for my kids, each kid and their needs. And it just felt so good afterwards, because I had felt like even my prayer hours at the chapel were filled with fear. And my mind was just racing, and I would feel so bad because I'm like, here I have this quiet time to spend with Jesus, and my brain just won't stop with all of its worrying. So this is all stuff I knew before, that I should trust in him and let him carry me through tough times. But it's really funny how the enemy will creep in there, and when you're not paying attention, he'll slowly start to just kind of take over those thoughts and until they're consumed, and you're giving into that, and it's a horrible feeling. But praise God, I caught it in time before it did consume me, and called out for help. And anytime you're in the thick of it and you call out for help, he'll show up. And he did. He gave me those words, and I was like, oh yeah, I am letting fear keep us apart, aren't I? But anyway, and if you don't know that song that I sang, it is Hosea. Remember the words. Don't let fear keep us apart. The Lord wants us to cling to him. And think if, you had a good friend and you were going through stuff. And when you started to go through stuff, rather than confide in them, you just push them away. That's the same thing. He's the best friend you could ever have. He's there to hold your hand. And it's hard to explain how he's there. Obviously, he's not there physically holding your hand. But having had many situations in my life where he's sustaining me, he sustains your soul, your heart, your mind. He can do that. You just have to keep your focus on him. It's a peace that you get inside that you can't explain. And so I'm choosing that peace again. And I'm listening to his words and not letting fear keep me apart from him, because that's when my life starts to unravel. That's when I start to feel like it's complete chaos in my heart and in my mind and soul, and I just don't want that. So rather than trying to push away the chaos and all of that. Things I really can't control. There's things you can and things you can't control. And rather than just trying to push that away and trying to control it, you do what you can and then leave the rest to him. Let him take care of it and just pray about it. That's the path I'm taking. I'm back and on that path. And every once in a while we need that little reminder. Don't turn away from me. Turn to me. And I'll take care of everything. So I hope this helped somebody. I hope you're staying warm. I hope you're staying safe wherever you are. If you're experiencing all of the snow and storms that are coming, I hope you're staying safe, and I am praying for you. So God bless you, and have a good night, everybody.